So for this problem set, we're exploring Gapminder and making our own graphs and analyzing them of the data and analyzing the data. So first, I started out looking for topics related in education because I'm going to be a teacher. And I mean, it's weird to say, but no topics really stood out to me like this one. I took a microbiology class a few semesters ago, and it talked about immunizing and about the movement right now it's kind of anti-vaccine. And my mom is a nurse, so I'm pro-vaccine. I've gotten all my vaccines, so I am very much pro-vaccine. I don't believe they cause autism. I even have a brother that has autism, and I don't believe they cause autism or any other things like that. So this is why it interested me. So I have this graph. It's the percent of 1-year-olds that are immunized with some sort of measles vaccine, because measles is the 5th largest disease, I guess, that kills children. And then this is measles death in children 1 to 59 months per 1,000 births. Unfortunately, there's only 1 year available, so it doesn't move. My guess would be if it moved, though, it would go from, depending on how far back it would go from less vaccinations and more measles to now more vaccinations and pretty much less measles deaths. And that's not saying we don't have measles anymore. That's just saying that I think mostly, especially in developed countries, they're more equipped now to handle it and treat it. If you scroll over these, you can actually see the different areas. This is Asia and Australia, just not Russia. But you see a lot of them are immunized, and even though this is kind of over here, it's still less than 1% of deaths. Or less than, not 1%, but less than 1, death per 1,000 births. And that's 73%. It's 50. But the more, and there, of course, there's outliers like this, like Chad. But it seems like the less vaccinations, or the less percent vaccinations, the more likely, I guess, for a death by cause of measles. And if you scroll over the countries, you see the Americas, not very many, deaths in them, and a lot are immunized, a high percentage. Most are 80% or over, and 80% is kind of like the herd immunity, where as long as most of the herd is immunized, then the ones that are not immunized, that are not able to, are pretty protected as well. Same with over here, a lot most of them are over 80%. That's like Europe and Russia. This is Asia and Australia. There's a lot that are over that 90%. There's also some are not, like India. India is very populated, and very everyone's very close together. It's very populated, very congested, and I believe there's a lot of poverty in India also, which would mean that people can't get people might not be able to get the health care they need. Same with Africa. There's a lot of countries that can't get the health care they need. But there's also a lot. I was very surprised by the amount that are actually immunized, and so that's good. But then, of course, there's some that are not, like, Guinea, Zimbabwe, Sierra Leone, Somalia. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. But then I did another Gapminder. This one also doesn't move, but thankfully it's in the same year, 2008. It's the government health spending per person, and then the measles deaths in children 1 to 59 months per 1,000 births. Because I was curious about how much countries spend on their, people, and if that has an effect. And it seems like the countries that spend a fair amount per person don't have a lot of measles deaths. And, that could be because, they can afford the vaccines and afford the health care to treat people that do get sick with it. Unlike, places over here. Like India, they spend $11.90 per person about. There's 3 deaths per 1,000 births. I mean, that doesn't sound like a lot, but it can amount to a lot. Africa, same thing, a lot less spending per person, and so a lot more deaths caused by measles. So I thought this was very interesting, and I shall dive deeper looking into articles and see what else I can find.